welcome to another episode of Coin Edition's Web3 Interview. You are with Coin Edition, your destination to find the latest news on the blockchain and cryptocurrency space globally. I'm your host, Gina, and today we have Dr. Naveen Singh Suhag, CEO of Inery Blockchain, connecting with us from Switzerland. Welcome, Dr. Naveen, to Coin Edition. So nice to have you on the show.
Thank you, Gina. Good to be here.
Amazing. So, for those of you who don't know, Dr. Naveen Singh Suhag has a doctorate in sports science and is a Web3 enthusiast who loves talking about decentralization and blockchain revolution. Through this interview, we are getting to know more about the same from him. So, Dr. Naveen, moving to our questions. The first one, could you tell us what a data management system is and what is your opinion on traditional data management and storage systems?
So a data management system is, the name tells, it's a system which manages your data. What it means by management of the data is storage of the data, then retrieving data, running queries, indexes, graphs, everything which has to do with the data. So you can think it like it's a program where you put a lot of data and it makes sense out of the data. It actually distributes into different tables. You can retrieve the data when you want. You can run queries. So I can search in the data for Gina, and it will then retrieve me about Gina, what thing has. And it actually, you can manage the whole data in the ways you want to. So it gives you a lot of tools and flexibilities to actually dynamically manage the data. The data storage is one small part, but the data management system is where you can dynamically manage the data and interact with the data.
Amazing, amazing. So how does it differ from traditional management systems?
So it's the modus operandi is actually same. The difference is just in the decentralization. With the decentralization, you get the different benefits of the decentralization. In a traditional data management system, you are completely relying on servers. So there's a data center, and within the data center, you have servers, and the whole data lies on the servers, which brings to the different problems which we are facing in terms of security, cost, and everything. Whereas when you put the database management system on the blockchain, I mean, blockchain itself is, it's just blocks of data. You know, blockchain itself is very suitable to manage store data. But storing data, as I said before, is a very small part. So when you bring the decentralization aspect in it, it makes it much more lucrative. It makes the whole database management system much secure, cost effective. It's a completely new approach. It's a very, I would say, technically a very new innovation to use the blockchain technologies for managing data.
So blockchain technology can be said is used to revolutionize the transforming data management sphere right now.
Yes, there are a few different companies who are working in the data field in blockchain technologies. The earliest ones were the ones who were storing data. And then there were ones which were like doing the indexing of the data, but there hasn't been any complete data management system. And that's what Inery is focusing about, to bring the full decentralized database management system. And how it differs is there is no central server, or there is no data center which keeps our data, where it could be hacked, it could be manipulated, it can be stolen. Or whereas like big companies we talk about, Instagram, Facebook, you name any big company, they actually own our data. And this is the, in Web3, in decentralization, we believe that the owner of the data should be the real owner, not the big tech companies. And this can be possible when you bring the decentralized aspect. And this is what Inery is about. And we are about bringing the blockchain technologies, the full data management system on blockchain, whereas you stay the real owner of the data. There are no hacks possible. There's no central point of attack. If the hacker attacks, compromises one point, there are 1,000 other points and nodes which are on the blockchain. So if you have seen in past, there is no, let's take example of Bitcoin. A public blockchain is almost, never hacked until now. So it's almost unhackable.
So again, as you say, the big tech companies or basically centralized systems do face the risk of security breaches. So how exactly does our project address this issue, or how exactly would you say, a decentralized system addresses this certain issue?
So, what hacks happen is because your data or everything is centralized. So now, around 1.5 months before, there were a few data centers which were hacked in Singapore, and that had data of Apple, Google, Facebook, everything. And that was all stolen, and it was on darknet for sale for, I think, $150,000. It was a very big news in Twitter, and it was a big uproar.
Yes,
And we
yes,
need
yes.
these things happen, constantly goes on happening. Just because you have a single point of failure and single point of, so hackers, they sit, I don't know, maybe 6 months trying to hack into one server, and one day they get lucky, and that's it. We all get unlucky because they get the access to the data. There has been a lot of cases when the hackers have got the access to the sensitive health data or the operating
Yes,
systems of
yes.
hospitals, and the doctors cannot retrieve the files of the patients, and then they had to pay a huge amount of ransom. That happened in Canada and US. This all happens because of the centralization. We have firewalls, internet security, all these things. They are
Yes, I
in
remember
place,
reading a news on a payroll information breach. I think that was from Facebook, was it? Yes. So
constantly happening. Every month there is something happening. When you bring the blockchain aspect into it, when you bring the decentralized into it, there is no single point of failure. Your data is not stored in one single server or one single thing where a hacker can actually target and manipulate the data or steal it or even delete it. That's not possible because the data is absolutely scattered through the nodes on 1,000 different points. So it's impossible to actually hack the data when you're properly using public blockchain structure.
So, also, you are someone who has built a decentralized data management system from scratch, and I'm sure you must have faced a few hurdles in that process. So, can you talk about some of the challenges you faced while building your project?
Yeah, it was not easy. The thing we thought it's easy. As I said, blockchain is just the blocks are just have the data. But the biggest challenge which we had was to build the blockchain from the scratch in the way that it can sustain the requirements of the retrieving data, the queries, and the dynamics of the data, where you are constantly pulling the results out of data. So that was one of the challenges. Then the biggest challenge was to finish to have an end product where it is absolutely technological innovative, but it should be adopting to the user experience system of the current way. What that means is if programmers are using database, they are used of a current system which has been adaptation from last 15 years. It's slowly, gradually has come to a system. How do they set up a database? How do they put the data? How do they run the queries? So on the technical level, it is very challenging. It's very innovative. It's absolutely new. It has been not done before. But on the user interface, the challenge was to keep it as close to the current systems as possible. And that was not so easy to do it. We had to spend the tech team has to spend thousands of hours to bring the experience as close to what is happening currently. So why we did is that the Inery solution is set up in a way that somebody who has no experience in Web3 or blockchain technologies can also use the database without realizing that in the back end there is a very innovative solution. So it was like two worlds bringing together: innovation in the back end, which is very new, which will be
Yes.
constantly updating, and on the front end it has to be same like they are used to, because developers and technical community, they are open for the new things, but they don't like to learn every time something new comes. So
Yes,
we
yes.
we wanted to keep them in their comfort zone, um, and we wanted to make sure that they can easily switch from their existing centralized database to the decentralized database without having any hiccups.
So again, speaking of keeping up to date with things, how do you find the time and energy to keep up with things that's so, so volatile and so changing in the market?
Oh, this is a very good question. I have multiple businesses, and I have been entrepreneur for many years, but now I hardly am able to give any time to anything else. Being a sportsman, I'm used to do trainings. I mean, 2-3 times a day. Now, I think if I do 2-3 times a week, if I find time, that's even good. So it's very challenging. Andrew is taking a lot of time because it's so many aspects. There's a lot of technical innovation going on, then the adoption, and how do you bring it to the users? Then at the same time, the mainnet launch and the listings, the Inery token, all these aspects have to be, and we have all in-house team that helps a lot. We haven't any outsourced parts, so everything is in-house, and we are very flexible. But everyone, I think, works more than 12 hours. I mean, I work, I don't know, I don't count the hours, and it's 7 days, 24/7. How do I find the time? It's just that's all I do now at the moment. There's no time for anything.
Amazing, amazing. Okay, so what would your advice be to a CIO who's, battling between the choice of centralized and decentralized data systems?
You see, one thing is clear: the CIOs or CTOs from all the big corporations, they have realized the benefits and the power of blockchain technologies. They're a little bit mistrust and a little bit skeptical for adoption. And the reason is nobody wants to take the responsibility, or they are not, I would say, innovative or brave enough to adopt it. But they realize that this technology is much better, or a decentralized, for example, data management system would have much more benefits as comparison to the centralized. My advice for them would be that they should just be brave to adopt and try it. They should try themselves. I think they are technically and also psychologically quite good enough to try by themselves and then compare, because that's the best way to do it.
Exactly.
I could say that, okay, this is better, that is better, but I would say there are brains which are much more advanced in tech than me. I'm not a techie, but I think they should really try and adopt the decentralization aspect. They should really try and check the decentralized database. Of course, we are in very early stages of blockchain technologies. I compare it with like internet in early 80s, when 1984 or 85, when Apple was doing their first Macintosh, and they were trying to use the internet and emails. Blockchain is still in such an early stage. So, of course, decentralized data management system cannot cover all the aspects of one project, but that's the same also with the centralized database management system. For one project, the technical team has to use various database management systems. They have to do, for data storage, they have to use MongoDB or MySQL. They need to use Redis. So they need a bunch of, I would say, tools together, or a bunch of centralized data management systems together to achieve what they want to achieve. And that will be the case here also. But there are a lot of points where decentralized databases match perfectly, can give them very good security and, of course, cost optimization. But they have to be open to test it, to check it, and do their own comparison, which one is better.
So, what would you point down as some of the benefits that organizations as a whole would have from implementing a decentralized data management system?
So the most important point is definitely the security. Big corporations, all the sensitive data, even a small corporation, sensitive data is very, very important. And the data hacks or data breaches, that's a big problem. Let's say if I have an e-commerce part and I'm using centralized database, my database gets hacked. Now all my clients' data, all what kind of things they ordered from an e-shop, all these things, if a hacker deletes it, then it's complete loss to business, start from scratch. So I think the most important part is the security. Then comes the cost effectiveness. If you use databases like Oracle or SAP HANA, they are very, very expensive. Only very big corporations can use them for small or medium enterprises, it's very difficult to actually to get the cost done. So I would suggest that the first important part is use the decentralized database. The user interface is very friendly, and you would get a seamless experience. Speed would be very good. You would save a lot of costs. I mean, comparatively, we are 100 to 1,000 times cheaper. Depends what you compare. And I would say, their security budget would decrease, their right of ownership of their data, because what happens, I don't want to name, but when you use centralized databases or when you use the data management system of big companies, they have access to all your data if you're a small company. They use it, they don't use it, but they have the access.
Right.
And in some parts, in a very gray zone, they actually know what's happening in your enterprise, which is very scary. It's your business you built, but it's in the hands of, it's a very sensitive part, it's the hands of those centralized companies. And they can, maybe just 1% of the data they can use for their benefit, which will be then against your enterprise, which if you use a decentralized part, you would not have that case. You will be the real owner of your data.
Right, right. Um, all right. So while you were building your project, did you have to face any potential regulatory challenges?
No, I mean, as such, because it's a public blockchain, there are no regulatory challenges. What's happening is we're working with a few of the companies which are partially or wholly owned by governments. And
All
when
right.
governments come in, then there are, for example, we have tied up with BEL, Bharat Electronics Limited, which is the biggest tech giant in India, and it's completely owned by Indian government. There are few requirements which you need to, I mean, we needed to solve, and we needed to go through that regulatory compliance part. The same if you say in Saudi, there's a mandate that the nodes or the data should be on the land of Saudi. So you need to either do a permission layer, or you need to find solutions which will be then, they can use the technical innovative part, but we can also respond to their regulatory parts. But as such, the biggest challenges we faced was in the innovation on the technical side to bring the technology in as simple way as possible to the end customers. Rest regulatory, of course, every jurisdiction has its own regulations, and you need to follow and respect that.
Sure, sure. Lastly, what do you believe will be the future of data management systems?
I personally believe that decentralization is going to come in a very big way in the data management systems. And the reasons, as I have told earlier, and I can repeat it again, it's the most important part is the security, the ownership of the data. That's very, very important. Security from the third parties, the encrypted data, the power of the blockchain, decentralization, and the cost effectiveness. I think once it starts, once the adoption of the decentralized database management system will start, it's going to be going very, very fast. Our tech team has to be doubled and tripled to actually making
Meet
more and
up
more
with it.
tools, yeah, to meet with the requirements, because every developer is using different kind of programming language. There's different sets of data they're using, and it's a huge project. I think we will be developing it next 3 years, and until then, we will be also not completing it in 3 years. It's an ever evolving process. When the new technologies come, I think if you see, I mean, the best example is the blockchain of Bitcoin. There was a lot of skepticism. Does it work? It works. Is it true? Is it a scam? Whatever. It's there. It's working fine without any person who owns it or runs it, and it has never been hacked, and it will never be hacked the way
Right.
it is designed. And that says a lot. Taking that technology as a base, we can do a lot of things, especially in the database management system, but not only data management system. I would say in other aspects also. There are amazing companies which are building in Web3 a lot of solutions, and slowly you would see that the centralization or this centralized server aspects would be slowly but surely replaced by decentralization.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you so much, Dr. Naveen, for that insightful session. And that is a wrap. And Con Edition wishes you all the success for your future endeavor.
Thank you very much, Gina. It's a pleasure to be with you. Thanks to Coin Edition.